And welcome back to Classic City Crime. I'm your host, Cameron J., and today's episode is one that I've honestly been looking forward to recording for quite some time now, because this is a conversation that you, our community, is having quietly, loudly, online, in commission meetings, and yes, at your kitchen tables. Today, we're talking about flock safety. We're talking about public safety technology. We are talking about the cameras many of you have now seen installed throughout our community and throughout communities across the country. We are talking about what they are not, what misconceptions exist, what rumors have spread, and what concerns you, the people, have. Ultimately, whether this kind of technology really makes communities safer. Now, before some of you immediately decide what this episode is and is not, let me leave this with you very clearly. It's a conversation that matters. It matters because whether you support these systems fully, oppose them fully, or find yourself somewhere in the middle, the reality is that public safety technology is no longer a futuristic concept. It is here. It is already part of how crimes are solved, and Athens is very much a part of that conversation now. For those unfamiliar, flock safety began primarily as an automated license plate reader system, cameras designed to capture vehicle information, identify stolen cars, alert law enforcement to wanted vehicles, and help investigators piece together where vehicles have traveled before or after a crime. But as technology has evolved, so has Flock, and these systems now integrate into real-time crime centers, investigative centers, and public safety networks in many cities, including Athens-Clarke County. With that growth has come some concern. People hear phrases like surveillance network tracking or government monitoring, and they understandably have questions. I had questions, but does this technology watch people all day? Does it really use facial technology? Can someone randomly track where you are driving? Or is this helping solve a violent crime? Is this helping solve crime fast? Those are the real questions. Now, before that, there's another side to this convo too, the side that victims' families understand all too well. The side where investigators are desperately trying to identify a suspect vehicle after a homicide. The side where detectives are scrambling to locate a missing person before time runs out. The side where every second matters. Here in Athens, we've already seen these systems reportedly assist in solving violent crimes, including 2 recent rape investigations downtown and a murder case where police were able to convict and find this person, not convict, but find them instantaneously. And honestly, as someone who has spent years immersed in unsolved cases and violent crime here in Athens, I cannot help but think about the cases that have shaped this community forever. I think about Laken Riley, murdered while running near campus in 2024, a case that shocked this city and this country. Investigators in that case did rely heavily on surveillance, but Flock was not in the Lake Herrick area. Could it have led to a different case against Jose Ibarra? You see, Safety Athens, a local organization, has put together an extensive timeline about the Laken Riley case where you can see how cameras were a part of it at safeathens.org. And you see, this is why communities are having these conversations now. I think about Tara Baker, murdered in her own apartment complex in 2001, a case that haunted this podcast and this community before justice came. I think about Daniel Macias, killed downtown in a case where investigators and the public spent critical early hours trying to understand movements, timelines, and who was where. But the honest truth is this. Back then, technology like this did not exist. There were no widespread camera integrations, no real-time crime centers, no network ALPR systems helping piece together movements across a city in a matter of minutes instead of weeks. Would these systems have solved these cases immediately? Nobody, of course, can say with certainty, but could they have helped investigators? Could they have generated leads faster? Could they have helped establish timelines or identify vehicles connected to crimes? I think those are fair questions, and I also want to be clear about something else. This episode is not sponsored by Flock Safety. It is sponsored by my friends at Safety Athens, a local organization working to improve public safety and awareness in our community through advocacy, education, and transparency around crime prevention and safety infrastructure. We appreciate, of course, Susan, Lynn, and the entire team at Safety Athens for their support of this conversation and for their ongoing work. So, today we're going to get out of those Facebook comments and we're going to leave the assumptions behind and we're going to the source. Joining us today is Jamie Hudson from Flock Safety to help answer the questions people have been asking, address the misconceptions that continue to circulate online, explain what these systems actually do and do not do, and ultimately get to the truth. Can Flock Safety increase public safety in Athens? And to talk about this conversation today, we have from Flock Safety, Jamie Hudson. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us here on Classic City Crime Podcast.
Yeah, no worries. Glad to be here.
Well, before we jump into what Flock Safety is and some of the misconceptions that might be out there too, I would love to know your journey and what brought you to Flock Safety.
Yeah, so it's been a long journey.
Yeah.
Started in law enforcement, spent 31 years in law enforcement out in California. Spent about 26 of those years in the 911 dispatch world, and then the last 6.5-ish of those were starting and building and running a real-time information center there. That transitioned into my retirement, eventual retirement.
Great place to be, I hear.
That's right. And now I work with Flock Safety, going around the country and talking to chiefs, sheriffs, city council members, commissioners about real-time public safety, the ethical use of technology in order to kind of advance what public safety should be doing. Now.
Well, and what I love about your story is, so many people might intentionally think that this is a bunch of tech bros behind Flock Safety, but in reality, it's also those with law enforcement experience, real world experience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we rely on the tech
Sure,
bros,
sure.
Right? So that they're certainly valuable to us. But yeah, we have a quite a variety of folks with a very diverse background professionally.
Well, I was reading a lot about Flock and its history and what brought it to where it is today. I'm curious, what do you say originally inspired Flock's creation long ago?
The founder of Flock, one of the founders, Garrett Langley, tells a story about a crime that occurred in his neighborhood and how at the time the local police department, really didn't have anything to go on. And it was a property crime, right? I don't want to make it sensationalize, right?
Sure.
But didn't have anything to go on investigatively. And so being an electrical engineer, he decided, well, let me see if I can do something about that. He manufactured the first iteration of an LPR, a license plate reader that we use.
Okay.
And the next time one of those crimes happened in that same neighborhood, it did capture an image of a vehicle, and they were able to give that to the police. And that kind of inspired what the company started as, and then it's grown into the law enforcement world, et cetera. Started as kind of an HOA style camera, right, to protect communities.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm curious, did Mr. Langley see a problem that was, needing to be identified in all of this? Was it just the fact that there were no license plate readers or camera systems that were up to par? Was there a problem he was looking to fix, I guess?
Yeah, I would say that there were license plate readers at the time. Yeah, we certainly didn't invent those. However, what we did was bring those license plate readers to wherever people needed them through the use of solar technology. And so that really opened up the footprint of where they can be strategically placed throughout a city or a neighborhood.
And speaking of neighborhoods, I'm curious, was the original vision to uplift and support neighborhood safety more than anything? I'm curious about that.
That was where it started.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then a little while after that, they realized folks like me who were still in law enforcement had a need as well for that. Up until that point, we had to install license plate readers where electricity was.
Yeah.
And that wasn't always the most beneficial place. And so they saw that there was a need in law enforcement as well as commercial customers, enterprise customers, right? So large businesses that have a big footprint, hospitals, schools, things like that.
Well, I know we're going to get to real-time crime center discussion. You mentioned that briefly there, but let's talk about what Flock is today. It's 2026. You kind of started going into it there, but beyond license plate readers and beyond neighborhood security, what are you all doing?
Yeah, license plate readers started us, and we've just expanded from that. And so in the expansion, what the goal is to make law enforcement more efficient, right? So the idea is if we can make law enforcement efficient at their job, allow them to have investigative techniques available to them, then that obviously frees them up to be out in the neighborhoods more. And so we went from license plate readers, and then you augment that with live video cameras. In the world of policing, once a license plate reader, let's say that I'm wanted for homicide, and my car is associated, and so that car is now in a hot list. Once I go past a license plate reader, then the police department's notified, hey, this car is here and it's associated with a guy who's wanted for homicide. Then if you have live cameras in that same jurisdiction, you're able to find that car through the use of live cameras. And so we went from there, and that was very, very useful to law enforcement for sure. And then we went into the drone market. And so what we realized is, and this is operationally speaking as well, what we realized is a camera in the sky that is strategically dispatched to a call for service is something that you can get to where it needs to be. You can get there very fast, and you can see what it is that needs to be seen with that call. And then it returns back to its dock and charges. And so what we realized very quickly was we're able to exponentially add more value to law enforcement through the use of a camera where they need it, as opposed to them having to proliferate a city with cameras just in case they need it, right? And so there's a balance there, and we recognize the balance there as well. But that's kind of where we've gone. Now, we do have software platforms as well that allow, and when we talk about real-time crime centers, we can talk about those. But there's a couple of software platforms that Flock has developed as well. And then we also have some streaming 911 audio capabilities so that in the grand scheme of a call for service, we're able to hear it as it comes in, respond to it as it's happening, and help the officers mitigate it while it's going on.
For the listener who hears this and says, well, my goodness, we should cut our police force and increase our Flock investment. What would you say to them about how those two work together?
Yeah, I would say to keep in mind that technology is not meant to replace human.
Yes.
Right? Technology is meant to enhance the efficiency of a human that is employed within law enforcement. And so can it replace people? That's debatable, right? In the grand scheme of policing.
We'll be talking about it for many years to come, I'm sure.
Yeah. But what I would say is, police departments across the country are routinely understaffed. They have, numbers that they'd like to hit, and through attrition or lack of hiring or any of these number of things, they don't get to hit those. And so if we can offer technology that assists the people that are there right now in order to help them do their job more efficiently, that's the goal.
And we're going to stop for just a moment here. You all have a video that kind of shows how Flock works in real time. So let's pause for a second, watch that for the next 3 minutes, brought to you by our friends at Safety Athens, informing parents and students about all things safety here in Athens-Clarke County. We'll be right back.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm gonna go check in.
Okay, see you in a little bit.
Oh, it's a nice car, man.
Thanks, man.
Where are the keys?
I don't want any trouble, man. Oh my God, just take it. I don't want any trouble, dude. They're in the car.
What happened? Are you okay?
911, what's your emergency?
Yeah, my car just got stolen.
Is anyone hurt?
We're good.
Call coming in. What type of vehicle is it?
It's a tan Challenger.
Help is on the way.
Thank you.
Possible carjacking in the Creekside Inn.
Copy that. Launching drone.
Police have been dispatched. Officers are currently...
Air 1 is en route.
3260, I'm en route.
Pulling the camera up from the hotel. I'm checking the recorded video. Arctic 1D units. The vehicle has black racing stripes. Suspect description is white male, red shirt, black hoodie.
Run that vehicle through freeform.
I got the plate. I'm adding it to the hot list now.
1580, en route from Birch and 9. ETA 1 minute.
That tag just hit on Maple and 5th.
Air 1 to units.
I'm en route.
30 seconds out.
260, I'm rerouting.
Air 1 to units. I have visual on the suspect vehicle. Direction of travel southbound on Elm Street, approaching 2nd.
I'm right behind you.
The suspect vehicle is pulling to the park on Maple and 5th.
3260 headed towards the east entrance.
Suspect vehicle has stopped at the east end of the park. Suspect is still in the vehicle.
Police, let me see your hands. Open the door. Step out of the vehicle. Face away from us. Back up. All right, on the ground. On the ground. All right, got you covered. 3261 in custody.
All right, thanks to Flock for that video. Back to you. I'm so curious. Let's zoom into Athens-Clarke County.
Okay.
Flock cameras are the topic of conversation. Some could attribute that to a very lively mayor's race here in the county, with public safety being on the top of voters' minds. What do these cameras actually capture? I hear a lot of things. You know, they can read the Levi branding on the back of your pants, or zoom in and read your cell phone conversation.
Yeah.
What do they capture?
Yeah, and it is something that is super important to explain what they do capture.
Mm-hmm.
They were designed and continue to be designed to capture the rear of a vehicle as it passes by the camera. So if you think about the nexus of an LPR, it is to capture, honestly, the license plate or the tag, as the Southerners, my Southerner friends say, the license plate of a vehicle. And that license plate, generally speaking, is on the rear of the vehicle in most states.
Mm-hmm.
And some states have front license plates, but so it captures the rear of a vehicle. We've trained through machine learning to capture vehicles. So if I go and I walk by a license plate reader, it's not going to capture my image as I walk by. Now, if a vehicle drives by at the same time that I'm walking by, sure.
Kind of like Google camera when you go on the map and you're in an unsightly swimsuit in the summer.
Exactly, right? So it captures an image. Now, once that image is captured, then we have engineered on the back end of that to know, okay, that's an image of this car based on all the machine learning that we've programmed. What kind of car is that? And so it might be, a 2025 Toyota Tundra, right?
Okay.
We train the machines to know color. We train the machines to know make, model. Years are subjective because some car makers will manufacture a series of it'll be a number of years for a particular model.
That look very similar.
Exactly.
Right.
So, if an officer investigates something and they want to look for a 2024 Toyota Tundra, they may get 2021 through 2026. But the concept is very simply, that's what it's capturing. That's what it is meant to capture. And that's what is relayed to the police department. If there's a hot list hit of a wanted vehicle, it's that image that's captured from the rear of the car.
Got it. And so what does it not capture?
Yeah.
I think that might be even easier to explain and may even calm some fears for those who have any. I mean, I have told you before, I think they're a great system, but what does it not capture?
Yeah. There is a lot of concern, and rightfully so, by folks that, are driving down a street and they think, I don't want my image captured by any of these things that are out in the wild. What it does not capture is persons, especially from the front view, persons in the vehicle, right? We're capturing the vehicle. So now we can see if there's people in there from the back, right? But it is not capturing individuals. It's not using things like facial recognition.
So there's no facial recognition.
There's not. Flock, we do not participate in facial rec at any level.
All right.
That's just not something that we do. Now, there are companies that's their job, right? And that's their tech is facial recognition. We have no part of that. And it is not something that we, not only do we not subscribe to needing it, but we've trained our machines to not even let somebody query something in that manner, to where if an officer, let's say the officer doesn't know that facial rec isn't a part of this system. If they attempted to query something going, hey, I want to find, the white guy with the beard, right? It's not going to let them search that because we're not in the business of trying to allow anybody to search by race, by gender, things like that.
Let's bring this a little closer to home. We had a terrible rape of a University of Georgia student in our downtown area. The suspect was caught within a couple of hours. This is unheard of.
Yeah.
But you're telling me it was not because they were tracking his face. It's because they were tracking cars in the vicinity of where he was traveling.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. You heard it here first, y'all. No facial recognition. Now, I do know that there is a lot of data, though, that is being stored.
Yes.
There is access, perhaps, that could happen to camera feeds that a lot of people are talking about.
Sure.
Where does the data go? Who has access?
Yeah.
What's the answer there?
Simply put, the data is owned by each individual customer. Now, the customers to us in this instance are police departments.
So
right?
Athens-Clarke County
Correct.
Police Department.
So
Okay.
they own the data that is captured by our devices.
Mm-hmm.
That data is sent up into the cloud to Amazon Web Service and GovCloud, so it's secure. We have dozens of individuals that work for us that are part of our information security department.
Mm-hmm.
We do penetration tests, on our own. We also have outside agencies do penetration tests and security tests for us. We get certifications in those. So we take that seriously because that honestly is our livelihood, right? And so if there is a breach of security, that's going to be problematic in many, many ways. Now, that data that is owned by the agency is the one who determines if they share that data or not with anybody. We, as a company, we're not able to share that data. Not technically, we're not able to, by contract, to share that data, right?
Sure.
And we have to hold to contracts that we sign. And so we adhere to that, not just universally across the company, but that is a foundational belief of ours, is that we manufacture the product that captures the data for the end user. They own that. They determine what it is they do with that. We protect the security of that data so that they have peace of mind when it comes to that.
So someone's mad boyfriend wants to know what they're doing in downtown on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Can they find that out?
Yeah. Tricky answer on this one. Can they? Yes. Right. There, any technology can be used nefariously. What I always go back to on this answer is, again, I was in law enforcement 31 years, and all through those years, we endeavored to hire ethical people. We did, comprehensive background checks on them, et cetera. If an agency continues to hire ethical people and that same...
Because it would have to be an internal person doing
Correct.
this.
It
right?
has to be. It has to be somebody
right.
that has access and et cetera. Now, if they hire an ethical person and combined with that, they have sound policy written as an agency, and then the third process of that is they have oversight over that policy, somebody that conducts audits of the system.
Yeah.
If that person does do that, it should be easily seen that they're doing something that is somewhat nefarious or at minimum suspicious, right?
Or
for
invasive.
them to investigate. Correct.
Sure,
and so can it be done? Unfortunately, yes, right? Is it done? It could be done places, but there are safeguards in place at an agency level to ensure that their people are using things ethically. And that's the most important piece of that.
Absolutely. And my friends, we will soon have here in the studio Chief of Police Jerry Salters, who will take us on the next step of this conversation as to how Flock is helping bring justice to those who commit crime in Athens-Clarke County. So last question for you. Is there someone sitting at a computer watching downtown Athens all day long?
I'm going to say that I don't think so.
Yep.
The chief would be great to answer that question.
We'll talk to him soon.
But what I will tell you...
But no one at Flock is doing that.
Correct. And that's what I was going to say, is that as a company, what we do is ensure the products we have in the field are working. But we do not watch them. Right. We don't have anybody sitting there monitoring. We don't, alert the police department if we think something is suspicious. That's not our job. Our job is to manufacture the tech products, put them in the hands of the police, and let the police use them ethically.
So let's say there was a rogue actor at the Athens-Clarke County Police Department. Chief Salters, I'm not saying there is one, but I'm curious what parameters Flock has put into place, or what systems of checks and balances might exist that would prevent something like that from happening, or at least curtail it.
Yeah, it's rather robust. And so any query that's made by anyone that is a user of the system at an agency, they have to indicate what they're using the system for. So there's a reason code that they have to select from. Now, the agencies determine which reason codes are okay for them as an agency to search. And so they prescribe themselves, here's what we want our people to be able to search.
I see.
Once they indicate what they're searching it for, they have to indicate either a case number, an incident number, something that ties it to some reason why they're doing it. And then they can search that. Now, what we've done since then on the back end of audits, and now audits data is retained according to contract. Our standard data retention is 30 days.
Okay.
So once that 30 days happens, it's purged. Every day, data is purged to keep it from going past 30 days. So, but audits are in perpetuity. So an agency can go back and audit all of their history of who's searched what, when, and why. So what we've done now is we have automated a process to notify a police department if we see what we think might be suspicious inquiries, multiple plate inquiries of the same plate by the same user, things like that, right? And so granted,
and knowing who that user is, I would assume.
Every user is unique, right? And so, but and I want to make sure that I reinforce to the viewers and the listeners is that an officer can legitimately be looking for the same plate over and over as part of an investigation. I don't want to make it sound like if they're doing that, it's nefarious. However, that is something that people are concerned about.
And if it's not tied to a case number, that would set off a red flag.
Right. Yeah. So we alert the agency and we say, hey, you do what you need to do with this information, but we wanted to highlight this. And then the agency can do their own investigation.
Does that happen a lot?
No, it does not.
I didn't think so.
No.
Okay. Let's bring it closer to Athens-Clarke County. We now here have, after lots of debate, lots of funding fights, we have a real-time crime center. It sounds like you yourself have done some work in those. For those listening who do not understand what a RTCC is, what is a real-time crime center?
I'm going to give you an example of a call for service, and then I'll explain the crime center after I explain the call for service. So let's say that there is a shooting that occurs somewhere within this jurisdiction. Somebody on site of that shooting calls 911. As soon as that 911 dispatcher starts to take that call, the real-time center is able to hear that audio. So they know right now, as that call's being taken, there's a shooting somewhere. Now, as soon as that location is known, if this area has drones as first responder, then those drones can start to fly towards that shooting even before that call for service is put into the CAD system, the computer automated dispatch system. Now, as again, they're taking the call for service, let's say that the reporting party says it was a white Ford F-150 with a camper shell as a suspect vehicle, and they give a tag number. As soon as that tag number is given, and again, this is before it's entered into the CAD system, or it can be, then the person that's working in the real-time center can put that vehicle tag into a hot list so that every LPR in that jurisdiction is looking for that car already. So now the call for service has been entered.
And that's probably happened within what, less than
30
a minute?
seconds to a minute. Yeah. Now that call for service is entered, right? So now the dispatch center is going to dispatch officers on that call. When they dispatch the officers, depending on, again, if there's drones that are available or cameras that are on the ground, live cameras to see things, there's likely an opportunity to be virtually on scene at the same time that the call's even dispatched. And so meaning the drone can have live video overview of what the scene looks like, et cetera. And so the idea is that real-time center has enabled all of these network of cameras to look for that suspect vehicle. So let's say that you have 4.
It's almost like taking things that were formerly disjointed.
Absolutely.
And making them talk to one another.
That's right. Yeah. And so if you take, let's say that you dispatch 4 police officers to this shooting call, that's 4 sets of eyes looking for that car. But if you have, and I don't have the exact number for here, but let's say that you have 30 license plate readers. Now you have 34 sets of eyes, right, looking for that vehicle in real time as they go to that call for service. And so it's exponentially decreased the response time and the apprehension time of crimes that occur.
Could y'all figure out ambulance response times while you're at it? That's another topic for another day. But, I'm seeing this conversation happen a lot in college cities where there is this town and gown relationship. Parents that are watching send their students here with the belief and full trust that Athens-Clarke County will keep their baby safe.
That's right.
And then they turn on the news and there's a shooting downtown. There's a 25-year murder just solved and the criminal was living in our community. And then they start to worry, did I make the right decision?
Sure.
We think they did. And we want your help in explaining to them why are college cities such a good place for a system like this?
Yeah. Well, first of all, safety is a fundamental right. We believe that as a company. I believe that as a person. And everyone has a right to be safe. And, you know, when Garrett Langley started the company, the motto of the company was to eliminate crime, right? That was the goal. The goal was to eliminate crime. So the idea is, and I'm a parent, right? And so my kids went to college, and when I sent them to college, I worried naturally. And so the first, and in being in law enforcement, I'm doing all kinds of research on where are they going, what's going to happen to them there, et cetera,
where are they
right?
living?
Exactly. And even the safest cities have nefarious actors, either living in them or coming through them. And so that has to be considered when it comes to how do I actually ensure the safety of the people who live here, who do business here, who recreate here, et cetera. So when you can have non-invasive technology that is able to capture images of vehicles that are coming in or traversing through a city, if a crime does occur, then that is allowing those officers that have to respond to that much more ability to find the vehicle now, as opposed to having to wait to find it. You know, if they dump the car somewhere and we find it a week from now, and now we're trying to get to zero, right? The zero is when the crime occurred. So we're playing catch up ever since the crime occurred. We're trying to get to zero. And if we can offer that, then that's what we want to do. So for the parents that are concerned about their children's safety, a college town. One of my children went to UC Davis in California. A college town, so the police department that's at the college, right, and the police department that surrounds it. Yeah, right. They need to be able to work together. They need to be able to investigate together, and they need to be able to use each other's data and intelligence in order to get these things done right and get them done now. So that's where we come in, right? Our technology. There are many technologies out there. We're just a fraction of what could be effective when it comes to keeping their children safe.
Absolutely. And for those watching that, you know, may criticize the University of Georgia sometimes, they have partnered with our local government in making sure that cameras are accessible and at the areas where town and gown meet. So important. There's a lot of misconceptions and rumors. Anytime there is new technology, and we live in a rapid world, people are getting a lot of things thrown at them. It's hard to keep up. So let's slow it down for them and really talk about some of the rumors and fears people have. So the biggest misconception that I have seen is that this technology is created to track ordinary, everyday people like you and me. True or false?
No, it is not. It is not developed to track people at all.
Right.
Right. It is developed to capture images of vehicles that pass by locations that have LPR. It's as simple as that.
Can someone pull up a random citizen's travel history?
There's probably more context needed to the question on that, but
average citizen with no law enforcement access.
Yeah, no.
Right. Okay.
No, this is all law enforcement creates our customers. So law enforcement in this sense create users and authorize users within their own agencies. And to that, not even every employee of a law enforcement agency are users in most cases.
Sure. What about a mass nationwide surveillance network? Is that what you're working to do?
Yeah, no. Simply put, no. But you know, to acknowledge that concern, right? I mean, we want to let everybody know that their concerns are their truth, right? And so, if we can offer some understanding of that truth for them, then hopefully we can. But you know, at the end of the day, we don't dictate where these cameras go. We build a camera and we go to an agency and we say, this is the efficacy of having a program like this. But we don't prescribe a number of cameras to an agency. We don't go and say, you need 75 cameras and this is where you need to put them. It is up to the agency. It's analogous to, let's say, automobile manufacturers. They are not the ones that are going to come out and say, there's too many cars on the road, right? Now, society is going to look at that and go, there are way too many cars on the road, right? Society is also going to come out and locally go to their local police department and say, I think we have enough cameras, right? And they're going to have that dialogue, which is where it belongs. It belongs between the residents of a community and the governance of that community, right? The elected
And when you're
folks.
ready to work with Flock, give them a call,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
When you're needed.
Yeah, right. But that is something that, mass surveillance network is a tricky thing to speak about because everybody defines it differently. But
and then you have people that are willing to give up some privacy for
Sure.
security as well. I mean, we
Sure.
think about the Patriot Act and all of the debates that have happened since then.
Yeah.
Our cell phones, though, are constantly in
Yeah.
our pockets, listening, watching. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know about you all, but if you talk about your favorite food, you might go home and get a commercial about it right then. So the point that I am making to my listeners is the security is already gone. Sometimes it feels like. I mean, everywhere we go, many people might not realize this. When you drive by a digital billboard, it is pinging the IP address on your phone and serving you or a car around you a personalized ad. That is how real it gets. Gas station television, the same way.
Yeah.
You pull up and you might get a sports ad. I pull up and they're going to tell me how terrible my hair looks. So we'll see. What powers do you all not want to have in all of this?
I'll tell you, what we don't want to have is the ability to access every customer's data and independently share that where we want to share it. We love that an agency customer dictates what they do with their data. What we don't want to do is have that ability to take their data and release it to third parties from us. Because then that does speak to the concern, right? And then that does drive the narrative of what is this company doing? Who are they selling the data to? Things like that. We just won't do that, right? And so that is probably the thing that we would not want to do most. There are a lot of things we don't want to do, right? Facial recognition.
You'd probably not love to not be doing this at all with the elimination of crime, as Mr. Langley said.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Can we ever eliminate it? Do you think it's possible in our world?
I would love to think that we can.
Net zero, maybe.
Cameras are not going to do it,
right?
But if society decides that's what they want to tackle, humans are a pretty damn good breed of folk, right? And so if they decide collectively this is what we want to tackle, probably we can get pretty close.
Pretty close. And even if we can't get close, at least we can get people fast before they hurt someone else. Last question on this. I'm sure y'all are constantly improving and working to do better. What does that look like? You talked about audits that you all do as well.
Yeah. The audits we consistently improve. Two things we do. We listen to our customers and we adhere to legislation. And so our customers, they tell us all the time, hey, my city council has been asking these particular questions. Is there anything you're working on to add additional guardrails, additional safeguards, things like that related to this? We take all of that in. And when we listen to that and we decide, you know what, that's a good guardrail to put in place, let's do that, then it just shores up the concerns that others have. So as an example of that, there was, sharing with federal agencies has been in the news with regard to Flock. And so there has now, we've established a very strict 3-gate process that has to occur in order for someone, an agency, a customer agency, to share with anybody from the federal government. So what has to happen first, that agency has to toggle a switch on that says, I want to be discoverable by a federal agency that may have access to this system. If this agency doesn't toggle that on, then there are no federal agencies that would even know they have.
Which is practically how the situation's happening already anyway.
Correct.
Do you plan to cooperate or not?
That's right. So that's gate one. They have to be discoverable to begin with. And if they're not, then we don't release, as a company, we don't release any data on who customers are, right? It's just not something that we would do. So that government would not know that this agency has it. Now, let's say that agency does. They say, you know what? Yeah, we'll be discoverable. Let's say we have a lot of banks in our jurisdiction, and bank crime is federal crime, and maybe the FBI is going to investigate a series of bank robberies. And because of that, if that were to ever occur, we want the FBI to know we have, Flock cameras. So if they ever need to do something, they can reach out. That's up to the agency. So that's gate one. They have to decide they want to be discoverable. Gate two, the federal agency has to ask that agency if they would share with them. So that they have to physically ask and send a request. And the third and final gate is that original agency has to decide that they want to share with the federal government. So there are 3 steps that have to be have to occur in
before
order for
any
that
other agency.
Correct.
Wow.
And so that is something that we have instituted because of both of those things I mentioned, because of us listening to our customers and because of us adhering to legislation. So there are legislation bills that pass in every state every day, right?
Yep.
And so we have a very robust group of folks in our government affairs that keep track of every one of those. And we have to adhere to every single piece of legislation from a local municipality up through the federal government when it comes to that.
I do not envy you having to keep up with 159 municipalities just in the state of Georgia.
I don't envy them either.
Yeah,
so
good.
Let me be clear. That's
let's have a bigger conversation as we close out here. Again, thank you for your time.
Sure.
I feel this has been so important. Let's bring it back in, or let's zoom it back out now. What do you feel is the balance between innovation and civil liberty?
That's a great question. Every person has their own litmus test as to what is too much. So speaking from a personal perspective, I fly 200 to 250 times per year. And so I am in an airport. I was in one this morning. I'll be one in this evening, right? My face is well known to all systems belonging to the federal government, to an airport authority, to anybody that's out there. I have long since let go of the concern of, will they know where I'm at? Because yes, the answer is yes, they will know where I'm at. That's me. And I've been okay with that. I had to make a personal decision. I think where I want listeners and viewers of this podcast to understand is each person gets to define what their balance is and what their limit is, right? And then the rest of us should respect what that definition is. And so I would say that, there is definitely a balance that needs to be struck, right? And luckily for us as a society, AI is still in its infancy.
My
right?
goodness, is it?
And so that's where now is the time for folks to engage civically to try to help define some of those boundaries, right? And so that's where I would say for me, everybody knows where I'm at all the time. Just like you were talking earlier with cell phones, everybody knows where I'm at all the time.
Look, no offense to my 65 and up listeners, but let's elect some people to Congress in their 30s too, where they can tackle this issue. Well, let's see. How do you respond to concerns about mission creep? You were started to just be this license plate reading, and now you're doing all of this other stuff. Is there mission creep happening, and how do you avoid that?
I think the easiest way to avoid mission creep is for us to try to determine what we develop next without the input of our customer agencies and society in general. If we just are, having a think tank internally at Flock and go, you know what? Let's do this. Let's develop, bouncing shoe soles, right? that there's no point in that. Everything that we have developed so far, from the start of an LPR into live camera, into drone technology, into software platforms that aggregate those videos, et cetera, everything has made sense to go back to the original mission, which is efficiency, right? Can mission creep happen? Yes. For sure.
It's happened here.
But it is something that we are aware of. And it is, luckily for us, everything we do develop, there is certainly a balance financially on our end as well. So we have to develop things that not only will serve our general overall mission, but also they can't be stuff that we're going to throw money down the drain just so that we can say we have it.
Yeah.
So there's a definite process that we follow.
Well, it's, I think, one frustrating thing for residents when it comes to these large investments, whether it be in a public safety tool or a traffic improvement, is where's the result?
Yeah.
Right? And what Flock is able to do already here in Athens-Clarke County, folks, make sure you Google this. 2 rapes, 1 murder, arrests within a couple of hours that historically have taken days. I'll also tell you that a case we'll be covering soon here on Classic City Crime, the murder of Daniel Macias, was downtown, right underneath where a Flock camera now exists. So if your technology had existed 15, 20 years ago, perhaps his case would not still be unsolved. We'll be covering that right here on Classic City Crime. So where do you see the future of Flock camera going? Flock cameras, Flock technology going?
Yeah, the future of the technology that we have, it'll still be pointed towards efficiencies. It'll still be pointed towards that ability to help solve crime as fast as we possibly can. You'll probably see additional amplified intelligence products that overlay on top of cameras, so software stuff that will allow an officer to really dig down and find the right vehicle at the right time. There's something that was actually coined by a chief from Cobb County who's now retired locally for you guys around here, is precision policing. And if you think about policing even 10 years ago, if I keep giving out vehicle descriptions because that's our world, right?
Sure.
But let's say that a gray Toyota Camry was your suspect vehicle. Officers would look for every single gray Toyota Camry that they came across until we found the right one. Now, with precision policing, we're able to employ technology to help us precisely locate the gray Toyota Camry and do business with that one vehicle. That's where I see us going, is to continue that path towards, we want to make sure when an officer contacts a person, they know that's the person they should be contacting, right? As much as they can.
Which really, in some ways, improves law enforcement processes as it relates to wrongful arrests, wrongful imprisonment for questioning. The list goes on and on.
To that point, there's concern about even drones in law enforcement, right? And so one thing that I like to point out about drones in law enforcement, they're not just for crime, they're for quality of life. And so if you have a missing Alzheimer's patient, and they're walking around the city and it's, 7 p.m., a drone has this wide frame of view where that drone pilot can see and potentially see that missing person in the middle of a park, in the middle of a street, places like that. And we're able to recover these missing people for their families with that technology. That's one example. And the second one is, let's say that I'm driving down a road here on my way out of town, right? Let's assume I'm doing the speed limit, right? And so I see somebody walking and I see something in their hand. And in my mind, I think, that looks like a gun to me. And so I call the police and I say, I think I just saw a guy walking down the street with a handgun. The police are going to treat that in a priority way, as they should, right? Based on the information that I give them. Drones in law enforcement, in my agency I retired from, we would dispatch a drone to that. We would find the person before a squad car even made it to the location. And if they had nothing in their hands, and there was nothing suspicious about what they were doing, we would cancel the call. So now
you don't even have to dispatch someone.
Correct.
Wow.
And now that person doesn't have to be contacted by the police. The police don't have to have an interaction with somebody just because of what I thought I saw as I was passing by and insert speed limit.
So really, there could be an argument made for those that are concerned about over-policing or wrongful policing that this precision policing is actually eliminating some of that problem.
Absolutely. And it really is. That's not hyperbole. It's drone as first responder are eliminating calls for service 10 to 15% nationwide.
Which is also a taxpayer's savings, I would assume.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you all listening will know that drones have played a huge role in even unsolved murders here in Athens. We know that the Athens-Clarke County Police used their drone system to be able to show a jury of his peers just 2 months ago that Edric Faust's back door was only 585 feet from that of Tara Louise Baker. So they are still making changes modern day with cases that are some 20, 30 years old. Let's go back and talk about the integrations that exist with the camera systems. I have heard that even businesses can opt in to be a part of the camera system. What does that look like? Why is it important? Why should businesses do it?
Yeah, I do know that the agency here does have a software platform that allows for business integration. And, it's twofold, really. The first one is if an agency put cameras everywhere they needed them, they would run out of money very quickly. There's a finite budget, right, for a municipal agency. The second is businesses want to participate in a safer city. Right? They want to be a part of that safer solution.
Yes.
To that point, being a college town, there are probably many apartment complexes here.
I used to work for the largest. Yes.
So, apartment complexes, they generally have a very decent exterior camera system, right? Exterior cameras, Fourth Amendment, you're good, right? There's no expectation of privacy as you're walking around outside. So if they have that, they're able to share that video directly with the local police department here and integrate that in directly. There's likely a small fee associated with that, But if you look at it from a business perspective, and this is where you see it so successful, a business, they have to make decisions on what they invest their money into, regardless of, climate. A business like an apartment complex would have to look at that fee. Let's say that it's $500 a year, right? Then they have to look at what they're making off of their residency and what they expect to make the next year when there's new students, right, coming in, and do their parents want them to stay in these complexes
That have higher levels of
That's
security.
right. Yeah. And so if an apartment complex was able to say to me, as a dad who is sending my child to UGA for their freshman year, if they were able to say to me, hey, not only are we secure, but we actually send our camera video, our exterior camera video, to the local police. So if there's a problem here, they have eyes on the parking lot just the same as we can at any given time. That would help me as a dad decide between that one or one that doesn't do that. If they have license plate readers, regardless of vendor, right? If they have license plate readers, that enhances that as well, because I don't have the numbers here, but most stalking occurs repetitively
We can
over and
throw that
over and
figure up.
over, right? And so the idea is that if I'm stalking somebody and I arrive in a car, that's going to show up, and that car will not be registered at the apartment complex as one of the vehicles that is there, right? Additionally, if I walk up there, then cameras are going to be able to see me over and over and over. And if the police have access to that in real time, if the person that I'm stalking calls the police and says, he's here now, they're able to immediately, single click, see that camera, see that person. So it is a very successful program to have. It's great that the local police department here has that program and that capability. Even better if all of the businesses that are in this city, apartment complexes, gas stations, et cetera, entertain that concept of additional safety for the community.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having this conversation with us. I feel that it has been such a hot button topic here in Athens-Clarke County that we here at Classic City Crime like to go to the source and find out the truth. So
we appreciate that too.
Yeah, absolutely. The truth is where it all lies. And so, for those listening, I think there are going to be people who now support this fully. I think there are going to be people who oppose them entirely, yes. But then where I think most of us fall is somewhere right in the middle. Yeah. So thank you for joining us here on Classic City Crime.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
And that is going to wrap up today's episode of Classic City Crime. A huge thank you out to Jamie Hudson and the team at Flock Safety for being willing to come on, answer the difficult questions, and yes, address your concerns head on. We talked today about the future of public safety technology, the transparency that goes along with it, and the future of investigations right here at home. Whether you walk away from this fully supportive, fully skeptical, or somewhere in the middle, I think informed conversations are always better than fear, assumptions, or misinformation. A special thanks today to Safety Athens for supporting conversations around safety, awareness, prevention, and transparency in our community. Please take time to visit them online, review their information and the timelines they've put together, especially regarding major cases that have impacted Athens. And, of course, continue educating yourself on these issues. Google is a powerful thing. And of course, thank you as always to our friends here at Runway Cowork in Athens for serving as our location sponsor and continuing to support independent media in our community. Now, listen, at the end of the day, you don't have to blindly agree with me. You do not have to blindly agree with Flock. What I hope people will do is actually research the issue beyond making a decision. The reality is this, y'all. The conversation is far more nuanced than social media can often make it seem. We've learned that recently. There are real concerns surrounding privacy and surveillance. There are also real victims of very real crimes that these systems are helping solve faster than ever before. Both of these things can be true at the same time. And honestly, one quote I recently read from Berkeley city leaders really stood out to me as communities across America continue debating these technologies. They said, quote, "We are not willing to sacrifice the safety of our community to fight a symbolic battle in a war on surveillance. Rejecting this contract changes virtually nothing about the surveillance landscape except our ability to use it to prevent and solve crime," end quote. You see, whether you agree with that statement entirely or not, I do think it really approaches the core tension of this conversation. The technology's already here. The real question now is what safeguards, transparency, oversight, and yes, accountability we expect alongside it. So, remember, you have a cell phone in your pocket and it is probably listening to you right now. Thank you so much for joining us here on Classic City Crime Podcast. Being in this with all of you has been the greatest honor of my life. And please do remember that if you missed a window of time, the Tara Baker story, it is now available wherever you get Dateline NBC. I'm Cameron J. Take care, everybody. We'll see you right back here soon.